Anna Martinez never imagined that making pancakes for her 4-year-old daughter on a Tuesday morning would become evidence in a Child Protective Services investigation. But when your stepmother is Victoria Blackwell, a woman who views every happy moment in your life as a personal insult, even breakfast can become a battlefield. What started as a malicious lie designed to destroy Anna's life would ultimately expose a web of manipulation, financial fraud, and psychological abuse that reached far deeper than anyone could have predicted. Sometimes the truth has a way of surfacing at exactly the right moment, and sometimes justice comes wearing the most unexpected disguise. This is the story of how one young mother's world was turned upside down by false accusations, and how those very accusations became the key that unlocked a door her stepmother had been desperately trying to keep sealed.
Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you.
Anna Martinez had always been the type of person who believed that hard work and genuine kindness would eventually pay off. At 26, she was a single mother working 2 jobs, mornings at Henderson Elementary as a teacher's aide, and evenings at a local veterinary clinic as a receptionist, all while raising her daughter, Sophia, in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in suburban Phoenix, Arizona. The apartment wasn't much to look at from the outside. The beige stucco walls were cracked in places, and the small balcony overlooked a parking lot rather than anything scenic. But inside, Anna had created something beautiful. Every corner was filled with Sophia's artwork, carefully framed photographs of their adventures to local parks and museums, and the warm lighting of secondhand lamps that made everything feel cozy and safe. The refrigerator was covered in star charts tracking Sophia's potty training progress, spelling tests with happy face stickers, and a hand-drawn picture labeled, "My Mommy is the Best," in purple crayon. Anna's daily routine was clockwork precision born of necessity. Up at 5:30 a.m. to prepare breakfast and pack lunches, wake Sophia at 6:15 and have them both dressed and ready by 7. Drop Sophia at daycare, work until 2:30, pick up Sophia, head home for snack time and homework. Yes, even preschoolers had homework these days. Then off to the vet clinic where Dr. Rodriguez let Sophia do coloring books in the back office while Anna handled evening appointments until 8 p.m. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. Anna took pride in the fact that despite having Sophia young, she'd been barely 22 when she got pregnant during her senior year at Arizona State. She'd managed to graduate, find stable work, and create a loving environment for her daughter without relying on anyone else. Well, almost anyone else. The almost was her father, David Martinez, a soft-spoken man in his 50s who worked as a foreman at a construction company. David had been Anna's rock after Sophia's father disappeared before she was even born, never once making her feel like a burden or a disappointment. When Anna struggled with childcare costs, David quietly helped with daycare payments. When her car broke down, David spent his weekend fixing it in his garage. When Anna had the flu and couldn't work for a week, David made sure her rent was covered without ever making her ask. The problem was Victoria Blackwell. David had married Victoria 3 years ago, and from the moment Anna met her, something felt off. Victoria was a striking woman in her early 40s with perfectly styled blonde hair and an impressive wardrobe that seemed far beyond what David's construction salary should afford. She worked as a consultant for various businesses around Phoenix, though Anna had never quite understood what she actually consulted about. Victoria drove a luxury SUV, always wore expensive jewelry, and had strong opinions about how other people should live their lives. From day one, Victoria made it clear that she viewed Anna as a complication in her marriage. Not directly. Victoria was too smart for that. Instead, it was 1,000 small cuts. comments about how young mothers today don't understand discipline, suggestions that Anna was taking advantage of David's generosity, passive-aggressive observations about how Sophia seemed a little behind compared to other children her age, though any teacher or childcare worker would tell you Sophia was actually quite advanced. The tension had been building for months, but Anna had tried to keep the peace for her father's sake. David seemed happy with Victoria, and if that's what he wanted, Anna would deal with her stepmother's subtle hostility. She focused on her own life, her own goals, and tried to minimize contact with Victoria whenever possible. That strategy fell apart on Friday afternoon in late October. Anna had just picked up Sophia from daycare when her phone rang. It was Mrs. Henderson, the principal at the elementary school where Anna worked. "Anna, I need to speak with you about something serious." Mrs. Henderson's usually warm voice was strained. "Can you come in early Monday morning, before classes start?" Anna's stomach dropped. "Is everything okay? Did I do something wrong?" "We received a call today from someone claiming to be concerned about your home situation. I don't want to discuss this over the phone, but we need to talk." Anna felt the blood drain from her face. "What kind of call?" "Monday morning, Anna. 8 a.m. sharp."
The line went dead, leaving Anna standing in the grocery store parking lot with a cart full of food and a 4-year-old asking why Mommy looked scared. That weekend was torture. Anna replayed every interaction she'd had at work, trying to figure out what could have possibly prompted such a call. She was meticulous about her job, always professional with the children, never had so much as a complaint from parents or administrators. The other teachers liked her. The kids adored her. What could anyone possibly have to complain about? By Sunday evening, Anna had convinced herself it was some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe a parent had mixed her up with someone else. Maybe it was about a different Anna entirely. Monday morning shattered that hope. Mrs. Henderson's office felt different than it had during Anna's job interview 2 years earlier. The same family photos sat on the desk, the same motivational posters hung on the walls, but the atmosphere was cold and formal. Mrs. Henderson, a woman in her 60s who usually greeted Anna with warm hugs and questions about Sophia, barely made eye contact. "Anna, please sit down." Mrs. Henderson folded her hands on her desk. "I received a very disturbing phone call Friday afternoon from someone who identified herself as your stepmother, Victoria Blackwell." Anna's heart stopped. "Victoria called you?" "She expressed concerns about your fitness as a mother and your ability to properly care for Sophia. She provided very specific details about alleged neglect, inappropriate living conditions, and..." Mrs. Henderson paused, clearly uncomfortable. "Substance abuse." The words hit Anna like a physical blow. "That's not true. None of that is true." She also mentioned that she'd already contacted Child Protective Services and suggested that having you work around children might not be appropriate until these allegations are investigated. Anna felt the room spinning. "Mrs. Henderson, you know me. You've known me for 2 years. I would never..." "Anna, I want to believe that, but I have to think about the children in this school and the liability to our district. Until this CPS investigation is resolved, I'm going to have to place you on administrative leave." Administrative leave. The words echoed in Anna's head as she drove home in a daze. No work meant no income from the school. The veterinary clinic might let her keep those hours, but it wouldn't be enough to cover rent and daycare and groceries and everything else. But worse than the financial panic was the humiliation and fear. CPS would be coming to investigate her home, her parenting, her entire life. They would interview Sophia, examine every corner of their apartment, scrutinize every decision Anna had ever made as a mother. And it was all based on lies. Lies told by a woman who had never spent more than 5 minutes alone with Sophia, who had never even been inside Anna's apartment, who knew nothing about their daily life beyond what she chose to imagine and distort. Anna sat in her car outside her apartment building, hands shaking as she tried to process what had just happened. In the span of one phone call, Victoria had managed to attack Anna's reputation, her income, her relationship with her daughter, and potentially her future. It was a level of cruelty that Anna hadn't even known was possible. But as the shock began to wear off and anger started to set in, Anna realized something important. Victoria might have just made the biggest mistake of her life. Because while Anna had been trying to keep the peace and avoid confrontation, Victoria had just declared war. And Anna Martinez, young single mother from Phoenix, was about to prove that underestimating someone's determination to protect their child was the most dangerous miscalculation a person could make. The CPS investigation that Victoria thought would destroy Anna's life was about to become Victoria's worst nightmare. Because sometimes when you try to bury someone, you forget that the truth has a way of digging itself back up. And Anna was just getting started.
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story.
The CPS letter arrived on Wednesday, 3 days after Anna's meeting with Mrs. Henderson. The official envelope felt heavy in her hands as she stood by her mailbox, Sophia tugging at her jeans, asking if they could go to the playground. The letter was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m., less than 24 hours away. Anna's first instinct was to call her father. David answered on the second ring, his voice immediately concerned when he heard the strain in hers. "Dad, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear." Anna took a deep breath. "Victoria called my work and CPS. She made false reports about me being an unfit mother." The silence on the other end stretched so long that Anna wondered if the call had dropped. Finally, David's voice came through, quiet and careful. "Anna, that's a very serious accusation to make. Against me or against her?" "Against Victoria. She's my wife, and I know she can be difficult sometimes, but making false reports to CPS? That's not something someone does lightly." Anna felt her heart sink. Even now, even faced with this, her father was defending Victoria. "Dad, she told them I abuse drugs and neglect Sophia. She told my principal I'm unfit to work around children. I'm on administrative leave and can't work until this is resolved." Maybe there's been a misunderstanding. Maybe someone else called and used Victoria's name, or... "Dad." Anna's voice was firmer now. "Victoria has made it clear from day one that she sees me as a problem in your marriage. This is her trying to eliminate that problem." Another long pause. "I'll talk to her." "And say what? Ask her nicely to call CPS back and say, never mind?" "Dad, this is happening. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., a social worker is coming to my apartment to investigate whether I'm fit to raise my own daughter." After hanging up, Anna felt more alone than she had since Sophia was born. Her father, the one person she'd always been able to count on, wasn't going to be in her corner for this fight. She was truly on her own. That evening, after putting Sophia to bed, Anna did something she hadn't done since high school. She made a plan. Not just a hope or a wish, but a detailed, strategic plan. If Victoria wanted to play games with Anna's life and her daughter's future, Anna would meet that challenge head-on. First, documentation. Anna pulled out a notebook and began writing down every interaction she'd had with Victoria over the past 3 years. The comments about young mothers, the suggestions that Anna was taking advantage of David, the way Victoria's face changed when Anna brought Sophia around, the time Victoria had joked that some people weren't cut out for parenthood. Anna wrote until her hand cramped, filling page after page with incidents she'd previously dismissed as just Victoria being difficult. Second, evidence. Anna spent the next several hours photographing every inch of her apartment. The clean, organized kitchen with healthy food in the cabinets and refrigerator. Sophia's bedroom with its carefully arranged books, educational toys, and art supplies. The bathroom stocked with children's vitamins, toothbrushes, and safety locks on all cabinets. The living room with its child-proofed electrical outlets and corner guards on furniture. Anna photographed Sophia's medical records, showing every vaccination up to date, every checkup attended, every milestone documented by Dr. Patricia Chen, their pediatrician. By 3 a.m., Anna had filled an entire binder with documentation, photographs, and contact information. She felt more in control than she had since this nightmare began, but she also felt something else. A cold, focused anger that surprised her with its intensity. Victoria had picked the wrong target. Anna might be young and she might be doing this alone, but she was not going to let anyone, not Victoria, not CPS, not anyone, threaten her daughter's security based on lies. Thursday afternoon arrived with unseasonable October heat. Anna had taken Sophia to daycare as usual, not wanting her daughter present during the initial CPS visit. She spent the morning cleaning an already spotless apartment and reviewing her documentation until she could recite every detail from memory. The social worker who knocked on Anna's door at exactly 2 p.m. was not what she expected. Jennifer Walsh was a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and a professional but non-threatening demeanor. She carried a tablet and wore a badge that read, Maricopa County Department of Child Safety. Ms. Martinez, I'm Jennifer Walsh. Thank you for accommodating this visit on such short notice. Anna had expected someone more intimidating, someone who would immediately begin searching for problems and violations. Instead, Jennifer accepted Anna's offer of coffee and began their conversation by asking about Sophia's daily routine. Walk me through a typical day, Jennifer said, settling into Anna's small living room and pulling up forms on her tablet. Anna had rehearsed this, but she tried to keep her tone conversational rather than defensive. She described their morning routine, Sophia's daycare schedule, her own work hours, evenings spent on homework and play, bedtime stories, and weekend activities. Jennifer asked follow-up questions about nutrition, medical care, discipline strategies, and safety measures.
Can you show me Sophia's sleeping area? Anna led Jennifer to Sophia's bedroom, where the social worker spent several minutes examining the space. She opened closet doors, checked window locks, and made notes on her tablet. Anna watched nervously as Jennifer ran her finger along surfaces, but there was no dust to find, no safety hazards to document. In the kitchen, Jennifer opened the refrigerator and cabinets. Anna had worried this might feel invasive, but Jennifer's approach was methodical rather than judgmental. She noted the healthy snacks, the child-safe storage of cleaning supplies, the medications kept out of reach. The person who made the report mentioned concerns about substance abuse, Jennifer said, her tone remaining neutral. Are you comfortable taking a drug test? Absolutely. Anna had expected this and had actually been hoping for it. When and where? I have test kits in my car. We can do it right now if that works for you. 20 minutes later, Anna had provided samples that would conclusively prove she'd never used illegal drugs in her life. She also voluntarily submitted to a background check and signed releases allowing Jennifer to access Sophia's medical records and daycare reports. Ms. Martinez, I want to be transparent with you about something, Jennifer said as they returned to the living room. The person who made this report provided very specific allegations: neglect, drug use, inappropriate living conditions, unstable employment. But everything I'm seeing here contradicts those allegations entirely. Anna felt a surge of vindication, but tried to keep her expression neutral. What happens now? I need to interview Sophia, which we'll do at her daycare tomorrow in a comfortable environment. I'll also be speaking with your references: pediatrician, daycare director, employer, neighbors. This investigation will be thorough, but I want you to know that initial impressions matter, and my initial impression is that these allegations appear to be unfounded. After Jennifer left, Anna sat in her quiet apartment feeling a complex mixture of relief and fury. Relief that the social worker seemed reasonable and professional, that her documentation and preparation had made a good impression, that the truth was already becoming apparent. But fury at Victoria for putting her through this, for forcing her daughter to be interviewed by a stranger about whether mommy took good care of her, for disrupting their peaceful life with lies and manipulation. That evening, Anna made the decision that would change everything. She wasn't just going to defend herself against Victoria's accusations, she was going to investigate Victoria herself. If Victoria wanted to play detective with other people's lives, Anna was going to return the favor. She started with public records. Victoria's marriage to David was her second. She'd been divorced from someone named Marcus Blackwell in California 5 years earlier.
Court records from that divorce were sealed, but Anna found something interesting in property records. Victoria had owned a house in San Diego that had been sold in a short sale just months before the divorce was finalized. Anna also found Victoria's business registration for her consulting work. Victoria Blackwell Enterprises had been incorporated in Arizona 18 months ago, but had no listed employees, no business address other than a P.O. box, and no apparent clients based on any online presence Anna could find. The more Anna dug, the more questions arose. How did Victoria afford her lifestyle on David's income and mysterious consulting fees? Why had she moved from California to Arizona so quickly after her divorce? And most importantly, why was she so determined to drive a wedge between David and his daughter? By midnight, Anna had filled another notebook with questions and observations about Victoria. She was no longer just defending herself, she was building a case. And something told her that when all the facts came to light, Victoria's false CPS report was going to be the least of her problems. Anna Martinez had spent her entire adult life trying to avoid conflict and keep the peace. But Victoria had just taught her something valuable. Sometimes the best defense is a very thorough offense. The investigation was just beginning, and Anna intended to make sure it uncovered the whole truth about both of them.
The call came at 7:23 a.m. on Friday, just as Anna was braiding Sophia's hair for daycare. Jennifer Walsh's voice was professional but strained when Anna answered. "Miss Martinez, we have a complication. I received additional reports yesterday evening, 3 separate calls, all anonymous, all making similar allegations to the original complaint." Anna's stomach plummeted. 3 more calls? The callers claimed to be concerned neighbors, former coworkers, and someone identifying themselves as a family friend. They're alleging that you've been coaching Sophia on what to say to investigators, that you've been seen leaving Sophia alone in your car while running errands, and that there have been loud arguments and crying coming from your apartment late at night. Anna sank into our kitchen chair, Sophia still standing between her legs with half-finished braids. "None of that is true. You were just here. You saw how Sophia and I interact. You saw our home. I know what I observed, Miss Martinez, but I'm required to investigate all reports, especially when they come in clusters like this. It suggests either a very concerned community or," Jennifer's voice trailed off meaningfully, "or someone making multiple false reports. I can't speculate about that. What I can tell you is that this changes the scope of my investigation. I'll need to interview more neighbors, conduct surprise visits, and extend the timeline for case resolution." After hanging up, Anna sat staring at her phone while Sophia climbed into her lap, sensing something was wrong. 3 anonymous calls, all conveniently made after Victoria learned about the CPS investigation. Anna had no doubt who was behind this escalation, but proving it was another matter entirely. The morning got worse when Anna arrived at the veterinary clinic for her shift. Dr. Rodriguez, usually warm and welcoming, was waiting by the front desk with an uncomfortable expression. "Anna, we need to talk." He gestured toward his office. "I received a very disturbing phone call yesterday." Anna's heart sank as she followed him into the small office behind the treatment rooms. Dr. Rodriguez closed the door and turned to face her with obvious reluctance. "Someone called claiming to be from Child Protective Services, asking about your employment here and whether we'd observed any concerning behavior regarding your daughter. They specifically asked about Sophia being left unsupervised in the office and whether we'd noticed signs of neglect or abuse." "Dr. Rodriguez, you know that's not true. Sophia has never been left unsupervised here, and you've seen how well cared for she is." "I told them exactly that. But Anna, the caller then mentioned that there were ongoing investigations into your fitness as a mother and suggested that having someone under investigation working around animals and children might be a liability for my practice." Anna felt the walls closing in. "What are you saying?" Dr. Rodriguez looked genuinely pained. "I'm saying that until this CPS matter is resolved, I think it would be best if you took some time off from working here. With pay," he added quickly. "This isn't about your job performance or my trust in you. It's about protecting the practice from potential legal complications."
Walking to her car after being suspended from her second job in a week, Anna felt a level of desperation she hadn't experienced since Sophia's early infancy. Victoria wasn't just trying to make Anna look like an unfit mother. She was systematically destroying Anna's ability to support herself and her daughter. No income meant no rent money. No rent money meant potential eviction. And a mother facing eviction would definitely look unfit to a child welfare investigator. But as Anna sat in her car outside the veterinary clinic, something shifted inside her. The fear and panic were still there, but they were joined by something else. Cold, calculating fury. Victoria thought she was playing chess while Anna was playing checkers. It was time to prove her wrong. Anna's first stop was the Maricopa County Courthouse. If Victoria was going to wage war through official channels, Anna needed to understand exactly what weapons were available to her. In the family law section, Anna learned about restraining orders, harassment statutes, and false reporting penalties. Making false reports to Child Protective Services was a Class 1 misdemeanor in Arizona, punishable by up to 6 months in jail and significant fines. More importantly, Anna learned that she could request phone records for her own CPS case file. If Victoria was making multiple anonymous calls, there might be patterns in the timing or phone numbers used that could prove the reports were coordinated rather than from genuinely concerned citizens. Anna's next stop was more unconventional. She drove to the offices of Martinez Investigations, a private detective agency run by someone who shared her surname, but no relation. Pure coincidence, she discovered during an internet search. Ricardo Martinez was a former police officer who specialized in family disputes and fraud cases. "So let me understand this correctly," Ricardo said after Anna had explained her situation. "Your stepmother files a false CPS report, then when that investigation begins, multiple anonymous calls come in supporting her allegations, and you've also lost both your jobs due to harassment of your employers."
That's exactly right. Ricardo leaned back in his chair, studying Anna with experienced eyes. This is an amateur hour. Whoever is doing this understands how to manipulate systems and create pressure from multiple angles. The timing of those anonymous calls, the approach to your employers, this is calculated harassment designed to overwhelm your ability to respond. Can you help me prove it? Maybe, but I want to be upfront about costs. A thorough investigation into someone's background, financial records, phone patterns, and associates doesn't come cheap. Are you prepared for that? Anna thought about her savings account, depleted by single motherhood and low-wage work. How much are we talking about? For what you're describing, probably $3,000 to $5,000 minimum. Anna's heart sank. She didn't have $3,000. She barely had $300 in her checking account. Ricardo must have seen her expression because he continued, "However, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've learned to recognize certain patterns. What you're describing sounds like someone with experience in manipulation and possibly a history of similar behavior. If that's the case, this might not be the first time your stepmother has targeted someone this way." "What do you mean?" "I mean that people who orchestrate campaigns like this usually don't start with their stepdaughters. They practice on others first. Ex-spouses, former business partners, neighbors, coworkers. If I'm right about your stepmother, there's a trail of victims, and some of them might be very interested in comparing notes." Ricardo offered Anna a different arrangement. He would do preliminary research into Victoria's background for a reduced rate, focusing on identifying potential previous victims. If that research uncovered evidence of a pattern, they could potentially build a stronger case that might interest other affected parties in sharing investigation costs. "Give me 72 hours and $500, Ricardo said. "If I don't find anything useful, you get your money back. If I do find something, we'll discuss next steps." Anna looked at her bank app one more time. $500 was grocery money for 2 months. But if Ricardo was right about Victoria having other victims, it might be the best investment she ever made. Deal. That afternoon brought another devastating blow. Anna's father called, his voice strained and formal. "Anna, Victoria and I have been talking, and we think it might be best if you and Sophia didn't come around for a while, until this CPS situation is resolved." "Dad, you can't be serious." The investigators might see our continued relationship as evidence that we don't take these allegations seriously. Victoria thinks... Victoria thinks? Anna's voice rose. Dad, Victoria is the one making false allegations. She's trying to destroy my life. Anna, I understand you're upset, but making accusations against my wife isn't going to help your situation. Maybe if you focused more on addressing whatever legitimate concerns might exist, instead of blaming others. Anna hung up on her father for the first time in her life. Sitting in her apartment that evening, after putting Sophia to bed, Anna felt more isolated than ever. Victoria had successfully turned her father against her, cost her both jobs, and escalated the CPS investigation to the point where surprise visits and extended timelines were now the reality. The $500 Anna had given Ricardo represented nearly all her available cash, and she had no idea when or if she'd be able to return to work. But as Anna reviewed the notes she'd been taking since this ordeal began, she realized something important. Victoria had made a crucial mistake in her escalation tactics. The anonymous calls were too coordinated, too perfectly timed, and too specific in their allegations. A real concerned neighbor wouldn't know about Anna's work schedule or her interactions with Sophia in their private apartment. A former coworker wouldn't have details about Anna's home life that they couldn't possibly have witnessed. Victoria had overplayed her hand, and Anna was going to make sure everyone involved in this investigation understood exactly what that meant. The war Victoria had started was about to expand beyond anything she had anticipated. Because Anna Martinez might be young and financially struggling, but she was also smart, determined, and learning very quickly that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one who has absolutely nothing left to lose.
Ricardo Martinez called on Monday afternoon with news that changed everything. Anna, you need to sit down for this conversation. I found 3 women in California who have remarkably similar stories about your stepmother. Anna was folding laundry in her living room while Sophia napped, but she immediately stopped and grabbed a notebook. Tell me everything. Victoria's maiden name was Victoria Chen before she married Marcus Blackwell in San Diego. During their divorce proceedings, Marcus filed a restraining order alleging that Victoria had made false police reports claiming he was stalking and threatening her. The reports were later found to be fabricated, but not before Marcus lost his job as a high school principal due to the investigation. Anna felt her pulse quicken. What else? Before Marcus, Victoria had a business partnership with a woman named Linda Morrison. Their consulting firm dissolved after Linda accused Victoria of embezzling client funds and making false complaints to the Better Business Bureau about Linda's subsequent business ventures. Linda couldn't prove the embezzlement because Victoria had expertly manipulated the books, but the pattern of harassment afterward was documented. Ricardo's voice grew more serious. But here's the big one. Victoria has a sister named Patricia Chen who lives in Tucson. 2 years ago, Patricia filed a police report alleging that Victoria had called Child Protective Services and her employer with false allegations after Patricia refused to lend Victoria money. Sound familiar? Anna's hand was cramping from writing so fast. Did Patricia's case go anywhere? No, because Victoria stopped the harassment after Patricia hired an attorney. But here's what's interesting. Patricia told me that Victoria has a very specific pattern. She researches her targets thoroughly, learns their vulnerabilities, then attacks through official channels that are designed to protect people. CPS, police, employers, licensing boards. She uses the system as a weapon. Have you talked to these other women? I have. And Anna, they want to help you. Linda Morrison is particularly interested because she never got justice for what Victoria did to her business. She's willing to testify about Victoria's pattern of false reporting if your case goes to court. For the first time in weeks, Anna felt a surge of hope. What do we do next? We build a case. I'm going to help you document every false allegation Victoria has made, establish the timeline of her harassment campaign, and connect her to those anonymous CPS calls. But more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to be your own best advocate in this system. Over the next several days, Ricardo became Anna's mentor in what he called defensive investigation. He taught her how to request and read official reports, how to document harassment incidents with legal precision, and how to build a timeline that would be compelling to investigators and prosecutors. The key is understanding that people like Victoria rely on their victims being overwhelmed and isolated, Ricardo explained during one of their afternoon sessions at a coffee shop near Anna's apartment. They count on you being too scared, too busy, or too inexperienced to fight back effectively. Your stepmother made a mistake. She targeted someone smart enough to learn the game and determined enough to play it better than she does. Anna learned about Arizona's harassment statutes, which made it illegal to engage in a pattern of conduct that would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress. She learned about false reporting laws, which carried both criminal penalties and civil liability. Most importantly, she learned about something called abuse of process, using legal procedures for ulterior motives rather than their intended purposes. What Victoria is doing isn't just harassment. It's a systematic abuse of child protective services, law enforcement, and employment systems. That's actually worse than simple harassment because it wastes public resources and potentially puts real children at risk by tying up CPS workers with fabricated cases. Anna also learned practical skills she'd never needed before: how to set up a basic security system in her apartment to record any unexpected visits, how to use her smartphone to document interactions and phone calls, how to request her own background checks and employment records to ensure Victoria hadn't filed false complaints with other agencies she wasn't aware of. The breakthrough came on Thursday when Jennifer Walsh, the CPS investigator, called with unexpected news. Ms. Martinez, I've completed my interviews with your references, and I want you to know that every single person I spoke with contradicted the allegations against you. Your daycare director, pediatrician, neighbors, and former employers all described you as an exemplary mother and employee. Anna felt relief wash over her. What does that mean for the investigation? It means I'm ready to close this case and clear you of all allegations. However, I want to discuss something else with you. The pattern of reports in your case is highly unusual. The anonymous calls all came from different phone numbers, but they were made within a very short time frame and contained information that wouldn't be available to casual observers. Jennifer's tone became more serious. I've been doing this job for 8 years, and I've seen coordinated false reporting campaigns before. Usually they're related to custody disputes or personal vendettas. In your case, I'm concerned that someone is deliberately misusing our system to harass you.
What can be done about that? I'm going to include my concerns in my final report, and I'm going to recommend that this case be referred to our fraud investigation unit. Making false reports to CPS is a serious crime, and if someone is orchestrating multiple false reports, they need to be held accountable. After that call, Anna felt something she hadn't experienced since this ordeal began. She felt powerful. For weeks, she'd been reacting to Victoria's attacks, scrambling to defend herself and protect Sophia. Now, for the first time, she was in a position to go on the offensive. That evening, Anna called Linda Morrison, Victoria's former business partner in California. Linda's voice was warm, but carried an edge of long-suppressed anger. When Ricardo told me about what Victoria was doing to you, I felt sick. I knew she would do this to someone else eventually. She destroyed my business and my reputation, and I never had the resources to fight back properly. What exactly did she do to you? Linda's story was chillingly familiar. Victoria had gradually taken control of their consulting firm's finances, then began skimming money from client accounts. When Linda discovered the theft and confronted her, Victoria had launched a campaign of retaliation that included false complaints to the Better Business Bureau, fake online reviews destroying Linda's reputation, and anonymous reports to the IRS claiming Linda was committing tax fraud. She's brilliant at it, she admitted. She understands exactly how to manipulate bureaucratic systems and how to cover her tracks. But she also has a weakness. She can't resist escalating when she thinks she's winning. Eventually, she always goes too far. What do you mean? I mean, she gets overconfident and starts making mistakes. The fact that she made multiple anonymous calls to CPS instead of just letting the original complaint run its course, that's her getting sloppy because she thinks you're helpless. Linda had something else Anna needed. Financial records from Victoria's California period that showed unexplained income sources and expensive purchases that didn't match her reported earnings from their consulting business.
I kept everything when our partnership dissolved, hoping someday I'd be able to prove she was stealing. I never could use it because the statute of limitations ran out. But if Victoria is still running financial scams, these records might show a pattern. Over the weekend, Anna received a package from Linda containing copies of bank statements, business contracts, and correspondence that painted a picture of Victoria as someone who had been living beyond her legitimate means for years. More importantly, the documents showed Victoria's signature on several financial documents that Linda swore she had never authorized. Anna also heard from Patricia Chen, Victoria's sister in Tucson. Patricia's call was brief but impactful. I want you to know that what Victoria is doing to you is exactly what she did to me when I refused to co-sign a loan for her. She called my job and told them I was embezzling money from clients. She called CPS and said I was neglecting my teenagers. She even called my mortgage company and said I was living in the house illegally. How did you make it stop? I hired a lawyer and threatened to file criminal charges. Victoria backed off immediately because she knew I had documented everything, and she couldn't afford a real legal fight. But Anna, you should know something else. Victoria is in serious financial trouble. She asked me for $50,000 6 months ago, said she had some business debts that needed to be handled quickly or she'd lose everything. That conversation gave Anna a new perspective on Victoria's motivation. This wasn't just about disliking Anna or wanting David's undivided attention. Victoria was under financial pressure and saw Anna as an obstacle to accessing David's money and decision-making. If Anna was declared an unfit mother and cut off from the family, Victoria would have complete control over David's money and decision-making. By Sunday evening, Anna had transformed from a defensive victim into someone building a comprehensive case against her attacker. She had documentation of Victoria's pattern of false reporting across multiple states and victims. She had financial records suggesting ongoing fraud. She had cooperating witnesses ready to testify about Victoria's methods. Most importantly, Anna now understood that she wasn't fighting just for herself and Sophia. She was fighting to stop someone who had been systematically abusing legal systems to destroy people's lives for years. Victoria had taught Anna that knowledge was power, that documentation was everything, and that the system could be weaponized by those who understood it. Anna had learned those lessons very well. Now it was time to teach Victoria what happened when someone who played dirty encountered someone who played smarter.
The eviction notice was taped to Anna's door when she returned from grocery shopping on Tuesday afternoon. Bold red letters announced that she had 30 days to pay $2,400 in overdue rent or face removal from the premises. Anna stared at the notice in disbelief. She had been careful with her rent payments, even during the chaos of the past month. But as she read the fine print, her blood ran cold. The notice claimed she had violated her lease agreement by engaging in illegal activities and creating disturbances that affect other tenants' peaceful enjoyment of the property. Her phone was ringing before she had even gotten Sophia settled with a snack. The property manager, Derek Williams, sounded apologetic but firm. Anna, I'm really sorry about this, but I received multiple complaints about your unit over the past week. Noise violations, allegations of drug activity, reports of unsupervised children in the hallways. I have to follow company policy when we get this many complaints. Derek, you know me. You know how I live. Have you ever had a single legitimate complaint about me or Sophia in the 2 years we've lived here? No, and that's why this is so hard. But Anna, one of the complainants identified themselves as a family member who was concerned about your situation. They provided very specific details about dates and times of alleged incidents. Anna felt the familiar cold grip of recognition. What kind of details? They said you'd been leaving Sophia alone while you went out at night, that there had been loud arguments and crying coming from your apartment around midnight on several occasions, and that drug paraphernalia had been seen in your vehicle in the parking lot. Every allegation was a lie, but they were crafted with Victoria's typical precision.
The timing aligned with when Anna had been staying up late researching Victoria's background. The family member designation gave the complaints added credibility, and the drug allegations tied directly to the false CPS reports. Derek, these complaints are completely fabricated. I'm being harassed by someone who's trying to destroy my life, and they're using your company as another weapon against me. I want to believe that, Anna, but I have 6 separate complaints from different people. If these are false reports, you'll need to prove it. Otherwise, I have to protect the property and other tenants. After Derek hung up, Anna sat on her couch while Sophia played with blocks nearby, trying to process this new crisis. Losing her apartment would be catastrophic. Not only would it uproot Sophia from the only home she had ever known, but being evicted would make finding new housing nearly impossible. And a mother facing homelessness would definitely appear unfit to any child welfare investigator, regardless of how the CPS case had been progressing. Victoria had found Anna's ultimate vulnerability and attacked it with surgical precision. The situation deteriorated further that evening when Anna's phone rang at 8:30 p.m. The caller ID showed MCSO, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Ms. Martinez, this is Deputy Johnson with MCSO. We received a report of a domestic disturbance at your address. Are you safe? Is anyone in the apartment with you who might be threatening you? Anna's heart pounded. Officer, there's no domestic disturbance here. My 4-year-old daughter and I are alone, and we're fine. Ma'am, the caller reported hearing shouting and what sounded like objects being thrown. They were concerned for the safety of a child in the home. Anna looked around her quiet apartment where Sophia was peacefully watching a cartoon while Anna folded laundry. There's been no shouting or throwing anything. Whoever called you was lying. I'm going to need to come up and verify that everyone is safe. This is standard procedure for welfare checks involving children. 20 minutes later, Deputy Johnson stood in Anna's living room, clearly puzzled by the discrepancy between the reported emergency and the reality of a calm evening with a content child. He was professional, but thorough, walking through the apartment and asking Sophia gentle questions about whether she felt safe at home. Ms. Martinez, I have to ask, do you have any idea who might have made this call? The caller claimed to be a neighbor, but they wouldn't provide their name when we asked for callback information. Anna felt exhaustion settle into her bones. Officer, I'm being systematically harassed by someone who's trying to make me appear unfit as a mother. This false emergency call is part of a pattern that includes false CPS reports, lies to my employers, and now fabricated complaints to my landlord. Deputy Johnson's expression grew more serious. That's a serious allegation. Have you filed a police report about this harassment? Not yet, but I'm working with a private investigator to document everything. We've identified other victims of the same person's harassment campaigns. Ma'am, if someone is making false emergency calls, that's a felony. It ties up resources that could be needed for real emergencies, and it creates dangerous situations for everyone involved. After Deputy Johnson left, Anna called Ricardo immediately.
They're escalating faster than I expected, Ricardo said after Anna explained about the eviction notice and police call. Victoria must be feeling pressure from somewhere. People like her don't usually move this aggressively unless they're desperate. Desperate about what? That's what we need to find out. But Anna, I need you to understand something. We're at a tipping point. Victoria's harassment is becoming so blatant and frequent that it's actually working in our favor, evidentially. But it's also becoming dangerous. False emergency calls can lead to tragedy if police respond expecting a violent situation. Ricardo's tone grew urgent. We need to move faster. I'm going to file a police report tomorrow morning documenting the entire harassment campaign. I want you to start keeping a detailed log of every contact, every incident, every phone call. Date, time, exact details. We're going to need bulletproof documentation. What about the eviction? Even if we can prove these complaints are false, will my landlord withdraw the notice? Maybe, but we need to move fast. Property management companies are risk averse.
Even if they believe you, they might decide it's easier to let the eviction proceed rather than deal with ongoing harassment complaints. That night, Anna lay awake, staring at the ceiling while Sophia slept peacefully beside her. For the first time since this ordeal began, Anna felt genuinely hopeless. Victoria had systematically dismantled every aspect of Anna's stability. No job, potential eviction, false police reports, and a harassment campaign that was escalating toward dangerous territory. But the lowest point came the next morning when Anna's phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Sandra Chen, the director of Sophia's daycare. "Anna, I need to see you in my office as soon as possible. Please bring Sophia." Anna's stomach dropped. "Is everything okay?" "We'll discuss it when you get here." An hour later, Anna sat across from Sandra in the daycare's small administrative office, while Sophia played in the attached room, unaware of the crisis unfolding around her. "Anna, we've received a call yesterday from someone claiming to be from Child Protective Services, asking detailed questions about Sophia's attendance, her behavior, and whether we'd observed any signs of neglect or abuse." Anna's world tilted. "What did you tell them?" "I told them exactly what I've told every investigator who has contacted us, that Sophia is a happy, healthy, well-cared-for child, and that you're an exemplary parent. But, Anna, the caller then informed me that there were ongoing criminal investigations involving drug activity, and that Sophia might be considered at risk if she remained in an environment where those under investigation had access to children." Sandra's voice was gentle but firm. "I called the real CPS office to verify this information. They told me that your case was closed with no substantiated allegations, and that they had not authorized anyone to call us about ongoing investigations." Anna felt a flicker of relief, but Sandra continued. "However, I also received 2 anonymous calls yesterday from people claiming to be concerned parents. They said they'd heard about drug-related arrests in connection with families at our daycare and were worried about their children's safety." The relief evaporated instantly. "Sandra, please tell me you're not—" "Anna, I don't believe these allegations for a second, but I run a business that depends on parents trusting us with their children. If word spreads that we're ignoring concerns about drug activity, even false concerns, it could destroy everything I've built here." Sandra's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry, but I think it would be best if you made alternative arrangements for Sophia's care until this harassment situation is resolved. I'll refund this week's leave, and I'll provide a glowing reference for any other daycare you contact. But I can't risk my other families pulling their children because of false rumors." Walking to her car with Sophia's backpack and favorite blanket, Anna felt completely defeated. Victoria had successfully attacked her employment, her housing, her relationship with her father, and now Sophia's daycare. Every support system Anna had built for herself and her daughter had been systematically destroyed through lies and manipulation. Sitting in the daycare parking lot, Anna realized she was facing the choice Victoria had been maneuvering her toward all along. She could continue fighting and risk losing everything, including potentially Sophia, if the harassment escalated to more serious false allegations. Or she could surrender, move away from Phoenix, and start over somewhere else where Victoria couldn't reach them. For the first time in her life, running away seemed like the only rational option. But as Anna looked at Sophia in the rearview mirror, happily singing along to a children's song on the radio, completely unaware that her world was crumbling around her, something hardened inside Anna's chest. Victoria had made one crucial miscalculation. She had assumed that if she made Anna's life miserable enough, Anna would simply disappear. What Victoria didn't understand was that Anna Martinez had been fighting for her daughter's future since the day Sophia was born, and she wasn't about to stop now. Running away wouldn't solve anything. It would just teach Sophia that when bad people attack, good people surrender. Anna Martinez was about to show Victoria Blackwell what happened when you backed a determined mother into a corner with nowhere else left to run. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source on Thursday morning, just 3 days after Anna had lost Sophia's daycare placement. Anna was sitting at her kitchen table, surrounded by eviction paperwork and job applications, when her phone rang.
The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, with a California area code. "Is this Anna Martinez, the one dealing with Victoria Blackwell in Phoenix?" The woman's voice was crisp, professional, and carried an undertone of barely controlled anger. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Detective Sarah Coleman with the San Diego Police Department Financial Crimes Division. I understand you've been gathering information about Victoria Blackwell's activities." Anna's pulse quickened. "How did you get my number?" "Ricardo Martinez contacted our department yesterday. He said you might have information relevant to an investigation we've been conducting for the past 8 months. Detective Coleman's words sent a jolt of electricity through Anna. "What kind of investigation?" "Insurance fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. We've been tracking a sophisticated fraud scheme involving false insurance claims and fraudulent business loans. Victoria Blackwell's name has come up multiple times, but we've had trouble building a solid case because the victims were scattered across different states and weren't aware of each other." Anna felt the pieces clicking into place. "What do you need from me?" "Everything you have. Documentation of her harassment campaign, financial records from her previous victims, evidence of her pattern of false reporting. But more importantly, we need you to understand that what's happening to you isn't just personal harassment, it's part of a larger criminal enterprise." Detective Coleman explained that Victoria had been running what's called a long con, an extended fraud scheme that involved targeting financially stable men, marrying them, then systematically isolating them from family and friends while gaining control of their assets. The harassment campaigns against family members served 2 purposes: removing potential obstacles to financial manipulation and creating crises that required the husband's immediate financial attention. "We believe Victoria has done this at least 3 times in the past 7 years. She's gotten very good at it. The harassment campaigns are designed to be just subtle enough that the husbands don't initially recognize them as coordinated attacks, and just devastating enough that the victims either flee or become so overwhelmed they can't effectively fight back." "What about my father? Is he in danger?" "Financially, yes. We have evidence suggesting that Victoria has already opened credit accounts in your father's name and may have accessed his retirement accounts. The harassment campaign against you is likely designed to prevent you from being close enough to notice or stop the financial manipulation." Anna felt a surge of protective fury that was different from anything she had experienced during this ordeal. Victoria wasn't just trying to destroy Anna's life. She was actively stealing from Anna's father while using his daughter as a target to keep him distracted and isolated. "Detective Coleman, what can I do to help catch her?" "We need you to do something that's going to feel counterintuitive and dangerous. We need you to stop fighting back and start documenting everything she does in response. We want Victoria to think she's winning, so she gets overconfident and makes bigger moves." Detective Coleman's plan was sophisticated and risky. Anna would continue gathering evidence, but she would also begin acting as though the harassment was breaking her down. She would start missing appointments, appearing overwhelmed in public interactions, and generally presenting as someone who was cracking under pressure. The goal is to make Victoria think she's close to complete victory. When people like her think they're about to win, they often make their biggest and most traceable moves. We want to catch her in the act of major financial fraud, not just harassment. Anna also learned something that changed her entire understanding of her situation. Victoria's pattern wasn't just about money. It was about power and control. Each victim had been a strong, independent person who represented some kind of threat to Victoria's total dominance over her husband. Anna's close relationship with her father made her a primary target, but Victoria's ultimate goal was complete financial and emotional control over David.
"Your stepmother is what we call a financial predator," Detective Coleman explained. "She specifically targets men with assets who have strong family relationships, then systematically destroys those relationships while positioning herself as the only trustworthy person in her husband's life. It's emotional manipulation, combined with sophisticated financial fraud." The conversation lasted 2 hours, and by the end, Anna felt fundamentally different about her situation. She wasn't a random victim of a vindictive stepmother. She was the target of a professional criminal who had been perfecting these techniques for years. More importantly, she now understood that stopping Victoria wasn't just about protecting herself and Sophia. It was about saving her father and preventing Victoria from moving on to destroy another family. Detective Coleman connected Anna with Agent Michael Torres from the FBI's Phoenix field office, who specialized in interstate fraud cases. Agent Torres had been tracking financial crimes that crossed state lines and was very interested in Victoria's activities. What makes this case particularly strong, Agent Torres explained during their meeting at the FBI field office, is that you've documented the harassment pattern in real time, and we have other victims willing to testify about identical patterns from different time periods. That establishes method, intent, and ongoing criminal behavior. Agent Torres also had news that stunned Anna. The FBI had been monitoring Victoria's financial activities for months as part of a broader investigation into fraudulent business loans. Victoria had applied for several business loans using false financial statements and fabricated client contracts. We've been waiting for the right moment to move on this, but her escalating harassment of you has actually accelerated our timeline. The false police reports and CPS calls are federal crimes when they're part of a broader scheme to defraud someone. Anna learned that the FBI had already obtained warrants to monitor Victoria's phone records and financial transactions. The anonymous calls to CPS, Anna's employers, and landlord had all been traced back to prepaid phones purchased by Victoria using fake identification. She's been very careful, but not careful enough. The pattern is too obvious when you see all the data together. Agent Torres gave Anna a choice that would determine everything that happened next. She could continue acting as a regular harassment victim, in which case they would arrest Victoria for the harassment crimes, but might not be able to prove the larger financial fraud. Or she could work with them as a cooperating witness to help catch Victoria in the act of major financial crimes against her father. I need you to understand the risks, Agent Torres said during their meeting at the FBI field office. If you work with us, the harassment might get worse before it gets better. Victoria will likely escalate her attacks when she thinks you're completely defeated, and if she discovers you're working with law enforcement, she could become dangerous. Anna thought about everything Victoria had already taken from her. Her jobs, her housing stability, her relationship with her father, Sophia's daycare. Victoria had systematically attacked every aspect of Anna's life with methodical cruelty. What exactly would I need to do? Anna asked. We want you to reach out to your father and try to rebuild that relationship. Victoria will see this as a threat and will likely respond by accelerating her financial moves against him. We'll be monitoring everything, and when she makes those moves, we'll have her on multiple federal charges. Agent Torres also explained that working with the FBI would provide Anna with protection and resources she didn't have before. They could help with her housing situation, provide security if Victoria's behavior became threatening, and ensure that any future false reports were immediately flagged as part of an ongoing investigation. More importantly, if this works, we won't just stop Victoria from harming your family, we'll stop her from doing this to anyone else. She's a serial predator, and serial predators don't stop until they're caught. That evening, Anna sat in her apartment, looking at Sophia's drawings taped to the refrigerator. For weeks, Anna had been fighting to protect the life she'd built for herself and her daughter. Now she understood that the fight was bigger than that. Victoria was a professional criminal who'd been destroying families for years, and Anna had the opportunity to not just save her own family, but to stop Victoria from creating more victims. The decision wasn't easy. Working with the FBI meant accepting that the harassment would likely get worse before it got better. It meant putting herself and Sophia at additional risk in the short term for the chance of ending this permanently. But as Anna looked at the evidence she'd gathered over the past month, the documentation of Victoria's lies, the connections to other victims, the pattern of escalating harassment, she realized that she'd already been building a case against a career criminal. The only difference now was that she wouldn't be fighting alone. Anna Martinez had started this journey as a young single mother trying to defend herself against false accusations. She was about to become the key witness in a federal investigation that would expose a sophisticated criminal enterprise. Victoria Blackwell had made her biggest mistake when she chose Anna as a target. She assumed Anna would be easy to break, easy to isolate, and easy to defeat. Anna was about to prove just how wrong that assumption had been.
The FBI's plan went into action on a Monday morning in early December. Anna, wearing a wire hidden beneath her sweater, knocked on her father's door for the first time in 6 weeks. David answered, looking older than she remembered, his face drawn with stress and fatigue. "Anna, what are you doing here?" "Dad, I need to talk to you about everything that's been happening." Anna had rehearsed this conversation with Agent Torres, but seeing her father's worn expression made the words feel more genuine than she had expected. David glanced nervously toward the kitchen, where Victoria could be heard talking on the phone. "Maybe this isn't the best time." "Dad, please, 5 minutes. I think I've been wrong about some things, and I need your help." What Anna didn't know was that Victoria had been monitoring David's every interaction for weeks, intercepting his mail, screening his calls, and gradually isolating him from everyone in his life except her. The stress was showing in ways that made Anna's chest tighten with worry. Victoria appeared in the hallway, her smile sharp and triumphant when she saw Anna. "Anna, what a surprise! I thought you were too busy with your legal troubles to visit family." "Victoria," Anna forced herself to sound defeated, broken. "I came to apologize, to both of you. I think I've been making everything worse." The change in Victoria's demeanor was immediate and chilling. Her posture straightened, her smile became more genuine, and her voice took on a tone of false sympathy that Anna now recognized as Victoria's victory expression. "Oh, honey, it takes real strength to admit when we've made mistakes. David, why don't you make some coffee? Anna and I should have a little chat." Agent Torres had prepared Anna for this moment. Victoria would want to savor her victory, to fully understand the extent of Anna's defeat. The goal was to keep Victoria talking while the recording equipment captured everything. "I've lost my jobs, I'm facing eviction, and Sophia lost her daycare placement. I know you tried to warn me that I was making bad choices, but I was too proud to listen." Victoria's eyes practically glowed with satisfaction. "Anna, I want you to know that everything I did was because I love your father, and I could see how much your situation was stressing him out. Sometimes tough love is the only way to help people see reality." "You called CPS because you love my dad?" "I called CPS because I was genuinely concerned about Sophia's welfare, and frankly, everything that's happened since then has proven I was right to be worried. Look at your life, Anna. You're facing eviction, you can't keep a job, you're clearly overwhelmed by single motherhood." Anna's jaw clenched, but she forced herself to maintain the defeated persona. "I know that's true. I can't handle this alone anymore." "That's the first smart thing you've said in months." Victoria leaned forward, her voice becoming more intimate and conspiratorial. "Anna, I've been thinking about solutions to your problems. Your father has been so worried about you and Sophia, and I think there might be a way to help everyone." This was the moment Agent Torres had been waiting for. Victoria was about to make her big move. What kind of solution? Victoria's smile was predatory. "Well, your father has some retirement savings, and I've been managing our finances since we got married. I think we could help you get back on your feet. Maybe help with a security deposit for a new apartment, get Sophia into a good daycare program, maybe even help you go back to school for a better career." Anna's heart raced, but she kept her voice level. "That sounds too generous. What would you want in return?" "Just some acknowledgement of reality. Your father is getting older, and he needs to focus on securing his own future rather than constantly worrying about bailing you out of crises. If we help you get stable now, you need to understand that this would be the last time. After this, you'd be truly independent." Victoria was offering to use David's money to buy Anna's permanent absence from the family. It was elegant manipulation disguised as generosity. How much help are we talking about? I'm thinking maybe $15,000 or $20,000, enough to really get you started fresh. Your father has about $40,000 in his retirement account, plus some savings bonds that are just sitting there earning nothing. Anna felt sick. Victoria was casually discussing stealing half of her father's retirement savings, presenting it as a gift to Anna while ensuring Anna would feel too guilty to ever ask for help again. That seems like a lot of money. Anna, your father loves you, but he's been losing sleep over your situation for months. Last week, I found him crying in the garage because he felt so helpless about everything you're going through. Victoria's tone took on a practiced sincerity. This would let him help you while also giving him peace of mind that you won't need rescuing again. David returned with coffee, and Anna could see that Victoria was right about the stress affecting him. Her father looked exhausted and older than his 55 years. Dad, Victoria was telling me about an idea to help me get back on my feet financially. Anna, I've been wanting to help, but Victoria thought it was better to let you figure things out on your own first. If you're ready to accept help, I'd love to do whatever I can.
Victoria jumped in smoothly. David, I was explaining to Anna that we could access some of your retirement funds to help her with a fresh start. It would be a one-time thing, but it could really solve her housing and childcare problems. Anna watched her father's face carefully. She could see confusion there, and something that looked like concern. Victoria, I thought we agreed my retirement money was supposed to stay untouched unless there was a real emergency. David, your daughter facing homelessness with your granddaughter isn't an emergency? Victoria's tone had an edge of irritation that she quickly covered. Besides, it's not like we'd be spending it frivolously. This is an investment in Anna's future independence. Anna realized this was her moment to push Victoria toward a bigger confession. Actually, maybe I shouldn't take money from Dad's retirement. That's supposed to be for his future security. Victoria's mask slipped slightly. Anna, your father can rebuild his retirement savings. He's got years before he actually retires. But Sophia is growing up now, and her childhood security can't be rebuilt if we don't act quickly. What about your consulting business income? Couldn't some of that help instead? The question hit Victoria like a physical blow. Her face went blank for a split second before the smile returned, but Anna had seen the flash of panic. My business income is, well, it's irregular. Consulting work comes in waves, you know. Your father's savings are more reliable for something this important. Anna pressed further. I thought your business was doing really well. Didn't you just buy that new SUV? That was a business lease. It's different. Victoria's voice was getting tighter. Anna, I'm trying to help you here, but if you're going to question every detail of our financial planning, maybe you're not as ready for help as I thought. David was watching this exchange with growing confusion. Victoria, what consulting business? I thought you were still looking for work. The room went dead silent. Victoria stared at David with an expression Anna had never seen before. Pure, undiluted fury mixed with something that looked like concern. David, we've discussed this. I told you about the clients I've been working with. No, you haven't. You said you were networking and looking for opportunities, but you never mentioned actual clients or income. Anna could practically see Victoria's mind racing, trying to figure out how to salvage the situation. This was the moment Agent Torres had predicted, when Victoria would either retreat or double down with bigger lies. Victoria chose to double down. David, I think you're confused. Maybe the stress of Anna's situation is affecting your memory more than we realized. I've been bringing in consulting income for months. That's how we've been able to maintain our lifestyle while I help support your family. Anna watched her father's face change as he processed what Victoria was implying, that he was becoming mentally incompetent and couldn't remember conversations that never happened. "I'm not confused, Victoria. You haven't told me about any consulting income because there isn't any, is there?" Victoria's composure finally cracked completely. "Fine. You want the truth? Your precious daughter has been causing problems for months, and someone had to take action to protect this family. Yes, I called CPS. Yes, I called her employers. And yes, I've been managing our finances because you clearly can't handle making the hard decisions needed to secure our future." The room exploded into chaos. David was on his feet, demanding explanations. Victoria was alternating between defiance and attempts to regain control, and Anna was sitting in the middle of it, wearing a wire that was recording every word of Victoria's confession to multiple felonies. But the biggest shock came when Victoria, realizing she'd lost control of the situation entirely, made one final desperate play. "David, if you don't support me in this, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. I have documentation of your drinking, your temper, your inappropriate behavior with women at work. I can destroy your reputation just as easily as I helped Anna understand hers needed improvement." Anna realized with crystalline clarity that Victoria hadn't just been stealing from her father, she'd been systematically documenting false evidence to use against him if he ever tried to leave or resist her control. David wasn't just a victim of financial fraud, he was being held hostage by the threat of character assassination. In that moment, Anna Martinez completed her transformation from victim to protector. She stood up, pulled the wire from under her sweater, and looked Victoria directly in the eyes. "Victoria Blackwell, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false police reports, harassment, and about 15 other federal crimes. The FBI has been recording this entire conversation." The look of shock on Victoria's face was something Anna would remember for the rest of her life. For the first time since this ordeal began, Victoria Blackwell looked exactly like what she was, a caught criminal with nowhere else to run.
6 months after Victoria's arrest, Anna Martinez stood in the kitchen of her new 3-bedroom house, watching Sophia help her grandfather David make pancakes for Sunday breakfast. The morning sunlight streamed through windows that Anna owned, in a home purchased with the restitution money recovered from Victoria's fraudulent accounts. The transformation had been swift once the FBI's investigation concluded. Victoria pleaded guilty to 17 federal charges, including wire fraud, identity theft, filing false police reports, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. The evidence Anna had helped gather, combined with testimony from Linda Morrison, Patricia Chen, and Marcus Blackwell, painted a picture of a serial predator who had been destroying families for over a decade. "Mommy, Grandpa says we can make Mickey Mouse pancakes." Sophia's voice brought Anna back to the present moment, a present that 6 months ago had seemed impossible. "That sounds perfect, baby girl." David looked up from the griddle, his eyes still carrying traces of the betrayal he'd experienced, but also something Anna hadn't seen in years: peace. The stress lines around his eyes had softened, and he'd gained back the weight he'd lost during his marriage to Victoria. "I still can't believe how close I came to losing everything," David said quietly, flipping a perfectly round pancake. "The retirement accounts, the house, but most of all you and Sophia." Anna poured coffee for both of them, a Sunday morning ritual they'd reestablished after Victoria's arrest. "Dad, you couldn't have known. Victoria was a professional. She'd been perfecting these techniques for years." The FBI's investigation had revealed the full scope of Victoria's criminal enterprise. She had targeted at least 7 men across 4 states over the past 12 years, systematically isolating them from family while draining their assets. Her consulting business had been a front for money laundering and fraudulent loan applications. The luxury SUV, expensive jewelry, and designer clothes had all been purchased with stolen money from various victims. Most shocking of all was the discovery of Victoria's insurance policy files.
detailed dossiers she'd compiled on each of her targets, containing fabricated evidence of inappropriate behavior, substance abuse, and financial irresponsibility. If any of her victims had tried to leave or expose her, she was prepared to destroy their reputations and livelihoods with carefully constructed lies. The FBI agent said Victoria's case is going to be used as a training example for recognizing sophisticated financial predators. Apparently, this type of long-term manipulation is more common than people realize, but it's rarely prosecuted successfully because the victims are too isolated to compare notes. David nodded grimly. Agent Torres told me that if you hadn't fought back the way you did, I probably would have lost the house within 6 months. Victoria had already forged my signature on a reverse mortgage application. Anna shuddered at how close they had come to complete financial devastation. But the investigation had also revealed something beautiful. The moment Anna started fighting back, she'd unwittingly created a network of Victoria's other victims who had been waiting years for someone to validate their experiences and help them seek justice. Linda Morrison had recovered $30,000 in stolen business funds, plus damages. Patricia Chen had successfully sued Victoria for the harassment campaign and emotional distress. Marcus Blackwell, Victoria's ex-husband, had been vindicated in his divorce proceedings when the falsified police reports were exposed as fraudulent. "Mommy, can we call Agent Torres and tell him about the pancakes?" Sophia asked, carefully arranging blueberries into a smiley face on her plate. Anna smiled. Sophia had developed a warm relationship with Agent Torres, who always brought coloring books when he visited to follow up on the case. "We can take him a picture, sweetheart." The legal proceedings had concluded with Victoria receiving an 8-year federal prison sentence with no possibility of parole for the first 5 years. She would also be required to pay restitution to all identified victims, though the money recovered from her various fraudulent accounts would never fully compensate for the emotional trauma she had inflicted. But for Anna, the most meaningful resolution hadn't happened in a courtroom. It had happened 3 months ago when she received a phone call from Jennifer Walsh, the CPS investigator who had originally cleared Anna of all allegations. "Anna, I wanted you to know that your case has led to significant changes in how we handle harassment-based false reporting. We've implemented new protocols for identifying coordinated false reporting campaigns, and we're training investigators to recognize the patterns you helped expose." Jennifer explained that Anna's documentation and timeline had become a model for recognizing when CPS was being weaponized by someone with ulterior motives. The department had already identified and stopped 3 other harassment campaigns using the techniques Anna unknowingly helped develop. "You've probably saved dozens of families from going through what you experienced," Jennifer concluded. "That's a legacy to be proud of." Anna had also returned to work, but not in the same capacity as before. Mrs. Henderson at Henderson Elementary had not only welcomed Anna back, but had offered her a position as a family liaison coordinator, someone who helped identify and support families facing crisis situations. Anna's experience with the system, combined with her natural empathy and newfound understanding of how institutions could be manipulated, made her unique.
Dr. Rodriguez had also offered Anna her job back at the veterinary clinic, but Anna had declined in favor of focusing on her new career in family advocacy. However, she and Sophia still visited the clinic regularly, and Dr. Rodriguez had become something of an honorary uncle to Sophia. "Anna, I got a call from Ricardo yesterday," David said, serving Sophia her Mickey Mouse pancakes. "He said there's a documentary crew that wants to interview you about Victoria's case." Anna had been approached by several media outlets interested in telling her story. The combination of false CPS reports, systematic harassment, and multi-state financial fraud had created a compelling narrative that legal experts believed could help other victims recognize similar patterns. "I'm thinking about it," Anna said. "If it helps other people avoid what we went through, or helps them recognize the signs earlier, it might be worth doing." Anna had also been contacted by attorneys representing other suspected victims of financial predators, asking her to consult on cases involving similar patterns of isolation and manipulation. She was considering pursuing formal training in victim advocacy and fraud investigation.
But perhaps the most unexpected development had been Anna's relationship with the network of women who had survived Victoria's previous campaigns. What had started as a collection of isolated victims had evolved into a support group that met monthly via video call, sharing resources and providing emotional support to others facing similar situations. Linda Morrison had become particularly close to Anna, and they were collaborating on a guide for recognizing and documenting financial predator behavior that could be distributed to family lawyers and financial advisors. "The thing that strikes me most about our whole experience," Anna said, watching Sophia and David together, "is how Victoria almost succeeded because she understood something true about the systems we rely on for protection. CPS, police, employers, landlords, they're all designed to take reports seriously and err on the side of caution. That's usually a good thing, but it also creates vulnerabilities that someone like Victoria can exploit." David nodded thoughtfully. "She turned our safety nets into weapons." "Exactly. And the only reason we stopped her was because I got lucky enough to connect with other victims and smart enough to document everything. How many people don't get that lucky?" Anna had testified before the Arizona state legislature about the need for better coordination between agencies when false reporting patterns emerged. Her testimony had contributed to new legislation requiring cross-agency communication when multiple anonymous reports targeting the same individual were filed within a short time frame. "Grandpa, can we go to the park after breakfast?" Sophia asked, syrup decorating her cheeks. "Of course, sweetheart. Maybe we'll stop by the ice cream truck, too." Watching her father and daughter together, Anna felt the deep satisfaction of a battle not just won, but won in a way that created lasting positive change. Victoria had tried to destroy Anna's family as part of a career built on destroying families. Instead, Victoria's own destruction had strengthened the systems designed to protect families and created a network of survivors dedicated to preventing future victims. Anna's phone buzzed with a text from Agent Torres. "Saw the news that Victoria was denied early parole. Thought you'd want to know. Hope you and Sophia are doing well." Anna smiled and typed back, "We're doing great, living our best life and helping others do the same." As Anna watched Sophia giggle at her grandfather's silly faces across the breakfast table, she reflected on how much had changed since that terrible day when the first eviction notice had appeared on her door. She'd started as a young single mother just trying to survive Victoria's harassment. She'd become someone who helped other victims survive and thrive after similar attacks. Victoria Blackwell had set out to destroy Anna Martinez's life and had ended up creating something she never could have imagined: a stronger family, a more resilient community, and a legacy of protection for families who would never even know Anna's name. Sometimes justice isn't just about punishment. Sometimes it's about transformation. And sometimes the best revenge is simply living a beautiful life while helping others do the same. Anna Martinez had learned to fight back against impossible odds. Now she was teaching others to do the same. And that, she thought, as Sophia ran to hug her with sticky pancake hands, was the kind of victory that lasted forever.
Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.